Cowabunga, and welcome to the Disenfranchised Podcast, where that podcast all about those franchises of one, those films that fancy themselves full-fledged franchises before falling flat on their face after the first film. I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy, and joining me, as always, America's favorite fearsome fighting teen, it's Tucker. Hey, Tucker.
Hi, Stephen.
How we doing, man?
I'm just a little tired.
Yeah, it's early. We're doing an early recording today because you're busy. You're a busy boy.
I woke up almost an hour ago. Woke up at 8:30. It's 9:22 now.
I woke up at 7:30. It's 8:22 now. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm in the future. You're
in the future.
past.
I'm an hour in the past. Yeah.
That's pretty
So
cool.
it's gonna take me an hour to catch up with this conversation.
That's like time travel or something.
Kinda, yeah. Either because I'm in the past or because I'm so very, very tired. But yeah. So and of course Brett is out working on catching 13 monsters in order to get rid of his immortality. We wish him a safe and speedy return. In the meantime, Tucker, what movie are we talking about today?
We're talking about 2007's animated feature film TMNT.
TMNT from 2007, of course, because Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem is out in theaters this weekend, and so we figured, why the fuck not? TMNT.
I'm gonna go see it too.
Of course you are. TMNT, directed by Kevin Munro, written and directed by Kevin Munro, and starring Patrick Stewart, Mako, Chris Evans, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Kevin Smith, Ziyi Zhang, Lawrence Fishburne, Mitchell Whitfield, James Arnold Taylor, Mickey Kelly, Nolan North, John DiMaggio, Paula Mattioli, Kevin Michael Richardson, Ted Tadasciore, and a number of just well-known, well-established voice actors, including, but not limited to, Jennifer Hale, Greg Griffin, Jim Cummings, Greg Baldwin, D. Bradley Baker, Tara Strong, Phil Lamar, Jess Harnell, and the great Billy West. What a cast! What a picture!
I agree. That's a hell of a voice cast.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to see. It's always nice to see Darkwing Duck.
Mm-hmm.
And Stimpy is always nice to see as well.
Absolutely. As I was listening,
Bender's in there as well.
Bending Rodriguez, absolutely. And of course, with Nate Drake is in there also voicing Raphael, I believe.
What do I know Nate Drake from?
Uncharted, dude.
Oh, Nolan North.
Yeah,
Nathan Drake.
Yeah.
Okay, I've never heard anyone shorten Nathan Drake's first name. You threw me off a bit.
That's what
I didn't know you guys were such good friends that you have nicknames for each other.
We're tight. Nice. He lets me call him Nate. What can I say? But yeah, like an impressive voice cast from what I'm given to understand. The entire cast was just voiced by established voice actors until the Weinsteins came along. The Weinstein Company just slapped their logo and name all over the front of this movie. And they were the ones that insisted that we cast Patrick Stewart and Sarah Michelle Gellar and Chris Evans in this movie. So there you go.
Which is annoying.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, it's a typical Hollywood thing, though. They did it with future episode of this podcast, Scoob, too.
They do it with everything.
Yeah. Where you're like, well, you people who have been doing the voices of these characters for years, you're not well established enough. You're not well known enough. No one cares about you. So let's get a celebrity to do your job.
Do you remember before, like, The Lion King or, like, maybe before Aladdin, when we just didn't even know who was in Disney movies?
Mm-hmm.
Just nameless voices.
Yeah. I mean, they were in the credits and all, but, like, who cared? Really? I think honestly, it's Pat Carroll in The Little Mermaid is kind of the first step in that direction. Yeah. And then, of course, Robin Williams in Aladdin meant we're getting now top tier Hollywood talent to do these things, as opposed to, like, because Pat Carroll, I think she was an established name at that point, but I remember my mom being very excited that Pat Carroll was in it, and I remember my mom also being very excited that Robbie Benson was the voice of the Beast. Like, these are things I remember my mom being very excited about, but meant nothing to me. I recognize the voice of Angela Lansbury as Mrs. Potts in Beauty and
Oh
the Beast
yeah,
as well. But like, those are all like established Broadway people, and those are like Howard Ashman's gets for those characters. But
yeah.
then you get Robin Williams and Aladdin, and that just suddenly like ratchets everything up to like the
Oh
top
yeah.
tier.
By the time you get to Lion King, you've got Jonathan Taylor Thomas,
Mm-hmm.
you've got
James Earl
James Earl
Jones.
Jones, Jeremy Irons,
Mm-hmm.
fucking Matthew Broderick. Like,
Now that movie does establish Nathan Lane and Ernie Sabella, again, Broadway guys. That does establish them as top shelf talent, which
yeah,
moves Nathan Lane into, I think, that and the producers, I think, moved Nathan Lane into a higher echelon of stardom than he might have known. And the Birdcage, Mike
I was
Nichols,
gonna
the
say yeah, the
Birdcage, yeah,
Birdcage. Yeah, it
which
wasn't a
is
huge hit, but it did a lot for his career. I
it,
think it really put him out there.
and it's a great movie.
I agree.
Birdcage, great movie, love it. Wish we had an excuse to talk about it on this podcast. God, it's a great movie. But there was never supposed to be a sequel, so what are you gonna do? But yeah, we are talking about TMNT from 2007. Yeah, man. This is definitely a movie we watched. It is the very first full-length animated Ninja Turtles film. It is 14 years after the previous film. Okay, so here's a question. I just want to get this out of the way right up top.
Uh-huh.
There are some fans who speculate that this movie is a standalone sequel to the previous Turtles franchise.
Well, I don't think you can really argue against that because of the trophy room scene at the end.
The trophy room scene and the fact that there's no Shredder, but beyond that, it has almost nothing in common with those films. In terms of like the origins of the characters, or like Splinter doesn't have like the visual character designs are completely different with Splinter in particular. I mean, if you want to believe it, it's there, but I don't necessarily, because again, this isn't Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4. This is like a completely it feels like a spin-off more than it feels like a direct sequel.
Well, I think, excuse me, I think as someone who's still a huge fan of the first film, the first live action film,
The first one's great.
I think that they get the personalities spot on. Like, to me, these could totally be the same turtles.
Okay.
Even the voice acting, I feel like, was sort of made to sound a little bit like those original actors from the first film.
Okay.
Like I said, I think the personalities, the tone is very similar to the first film, but I don't know. Like the second and the third film, even though I like the second film because it's fun, they're totally different than the first one.
Yeah,
To me, this film feels like a sequel to the two movies in a different timeline where they followed the tone of the first movie instead of going wacky in the second and third one. Does that make sense?
It does. And I mean, I think you do that with regard to the second and third films and making them a little wackier. I think you do that due to the popularity of the cartoon.
Yeah,
like the first film
absolutely.
is made off of the comics.
Well, the first film was made off of the cartoon too. That movie wouldn't exist without the cartoon.
Sure, but the cartoon had a much goofier, sillier, like all the characters are very much softened, and that's not what that first movie is. Like the tone is very consistent with the comics. Again, I agree. And we should probably do a little bit of history on the Turtles, both ours and the history of the property in general.
Hey man, I live in Turtle Country, man. Because the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were created in Dover, New Hampshire, which is not far from where I am.
Right on. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the history of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That is the brainchild of Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman, who created them as a parody of
Daredevil.
Daredevil. Yeah, it's a parody of specifically Frank Miller's run on Daredevil. So you have basically the accident that created Matt Murdock, the truck crash that gets blinds him and gets the radioactive waste in his eyes that seeps then into the sewers and falls on some turtles and a rat, who then become Splinter and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The origin is changed eventually for the movie, but I believe the cartoon keeps it the same.
No, it's the opposite, actually.
Is it?
The movie has the comic origin. In the cartoon, Splinter is Hamato Yoshi. He's turned into a giant rat. Where he started out as human, he turned into a giant rat, and he raised the mutant turtles. In the movie, they're all just animals, and they get hit with the ooze, and Hamato Yoshi is Splinter's owner.
Okay.
Though I do find it I really, really love when they're doing the origin story for 15 years. When they're doing the origin story in the first movie, when Hamato Yoshi's practicing his ninjutsu and you see little tiny Splinter in his cage, like practicing with him, it's like the cutest thing ever.
It is.
God bless
really
you, Jim
adorable.
Henson. God bless you, Jim Henson. It's wonderful. I love that movie so much. It still holds up on like every level.
So they're created as a parody of Daredevil, the X-Men, the Teen Titans, and funny animal characters like Howard the Duck. So you kind of combine all of those and you end up with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And they're named after the four Renaissance painters. They're created in 1983. The first comic, I believe, comes out in 84.
Self-published.
And
then very limited run.
Yeah,
just regionally, and then they just sold out so quickly.
Yeah, because it was Mirage Comics, which was they founded it was their own imprint.
Yes, that was their label. Yep.
And that kind of led to this boom in independent comics and the popularity of these in particular. From my understanding, the TV show starts in 87.
Playmates.
The toys came first, though, right?
Yes, because Playmates saw that comic book and they didn't even see Ninja Turtles, man. They just saw big old fat dollar signs.
Right.
And then, so Playmates has got their toy line going, and all they got to do in those days when you had a popular toy line, the best way to promote it, Saturday morning cartoon.
We legitimately just did a whole month about that.
Yes, we
did. Here on this podcast, much to your chagrin. But yeah, so we so they created the cartoon in 1987 that ran until the original one ran until 1996.
Yes, it did.
There was actually a TV show in production almost consistently from 87 to 2020. There were a few years off here and there, but the Turtles kind of have lived and breathed on TV for a long time.
So you've got the 87 animated show. After that, you had the Next Mutation, which was live action.
That's the one where they introduced Venus de Milo, for girls.
Which is nice to mention, because if my solo show on the Patreon ever gets off the ground, one of the movies we're going to cover is a movie from the late 90s that is made by the special effects crew of the Ninja Turtles Next Mutation TV show. And it's this weird, stupid, disgusting little movie called The Item, and I love it.
Okay.
It's really gross, and I actually hate it. But I love it because of how much I hate it.
Okay.
But then you've got the 2003 animated Turtles.
Mm-hmm. Which the release of this movie kind of coincides with that, but it's a completely different property.
Yeah. Which they cross over with the 87 Turtles in a movie called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Forever. And then you got the 2012 Turtles, which also cross over with the 87 Turtles at some point, which actually I do prefer that crossover episode because Turtles Forever was fun, but they did the 87 Turtles suck, but they did them dirty. Even so, they did them dirty. Like they made them far more, like far, far, far more cartoonish than you can imagine, if you can imagine that.
Pretty hard to imagine.
And because of issues with the studios and stuff, they couldn't get the original actors back, so they had to have sound alikes, and that kind of sucks.
And then there's a final series.
We don't talk about Rise.
Okay. But just for the sake of continuity,
yes, it does exist. You may talk about it, I guess.
There is a final Ninja Turtles series that came out between 2018 and 2020 called Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which apparently we don't talk about for some reason. But yeah.
It sucks.
And then you have the 4 live action films, which were released in
5 total.
Right, but well, I mean, in terms of the ones leading up to this movie,
that's 3 then. Yeah,
you've got the original 3, which come out in 1990. When does Secret of the Use? Here we go. 1990, 1991, and 1993.
Which is a big turnaround for a movie as effects heavy as those Ninja Turtle movies are.
Absolutely. And then you do have 2 other live action Turtles movies. The Michael Bay produced Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in 2014, and then Out of the Shadows, the sequel to that one, in 2016.
Hot take, love those movies, both.
Yeah, have not seen them.
Yeah, the first one is really fun, and then the second one really leans into kind of the world of the original cartoon.
Right. Like, I know you get Krang and Bebop and Rocksteady finally make their live action debut.
Oh, and you got Medea as Baxter Stockman as well.
That one I did know, yeah. Tyler Perry.
Hell yeah. He's so fun in those. I like Tyler Perry as an actor. The stuff I've seen him in, I've always liked him. So no matter what I think of the crap that he produces, like as an actor, that man, he does it for me sometimes.
All right, fair enough. I'm on record as really enjoying him in the film Gone Girl. I think he gives an incredible performance.
Holy shit, he's great in that movie.
I think maybe the best thing he's ever done. He's also in Vice, like just doing whatever everyone else is doing in Vice.
He's just hanging out on the Intergalactic Council in Star Trek.
It's true. Yeah.
Just hanging out, doing his thing.
Just sitting up there being like, hi, I'm Tyler Perry.
Hi, it's me, Medea's Tyler Perry.
Oh, God. So I guess, Tucker, what is your individual history with... it seems like you have quite an extensive one, but what is your history with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Buckle up, bud. Buckle up.
Oh, I'm buckled, baby.
No, it's not that complicated. It just goes... way back. The Ninja Turtles was one of my big obsessions when I was a kid. It started out with He-Man, and then I got a little older and I started getting into Ghostbusters, and then when Ninja Turtles came out, holy shit, that was the biggest thing that had ever happened. The Ninja Turtles up to that point, in my life, that was the biggest thing, like pop culture speaking, that happened. Everybody loved the Turtles.
Yeah, they did.
All the kids. I mean, even the adults loved the Turtles. Everybody loved the fucking Turtles.
Damn Skippy, yeah.
So it was everywhere. And this was kind of like the perfect time for me, because this was like late elementary school for me and into middle school. Ninja Turtles is what eventually got me into comics. I saw the first film. I won tickets from 97.1 when it used to be WENS. The soft rock station in Indianapolis from the 80s.
I remember it well.
I called in, and it was, I don't know if it was trivia or if I had to be a certain number caller, but I called in and I won tickets to see the first Ninja Turtles movie at the General Cinema at Eastgate. The little tiny 2 theater.
Yeah.
That no longer exists.
No, has not for a long time.
I saw it there, the first movie, and it just blew my fucking mind, because I had the Nintendo games and I watched the cartoon all the time, but I'd never seen Turtles like that. The movie, because they were Steven, like in the first 5 minutes, Raphael says, damn.
I know. Fucking scandal.
I couldn't believe it.
My virgin ears.
I know. I'd only heard my mom and dad say that word. Never
never
on
heard-
television.
I never heard a cartoon turtle say it in live action.
Wow. Yeah, that movie just blew my mind. I saw the second one at the movie theater as well, which at the time I really loved, but as time has passed, I've fallen out of love with that movie because it is fun, but it is also it goes a little too far in the goofy direction to the point to where I don't think Michelangelo ever actually takes out his nunchucks. That was one of the complaints. His parents said the first one was too violent. The first one was fucking perfect. Perfect.
Bold stance.
But yeah, just like all things, I've remained peripherally interested, I guess you could say, in the Ninja Turtles to the point to where when this movie came out, the movie we're talking about today, I went and saw that when it came out.
Oh, right on.
And I gotta tell you, it doesn't hold up as well as I wanted it to, but I still think it's really good. There are points where the quality, even in the animation, seems to kind of dip a bit from time to time.
Yeah.
There's enough really solid shit in this movie, especially for 2007. Like, I still have a lot of respect for this movie. Like I said, it doesn't hold up as well as I wanted it to. I haven't seen it probably in 10 years. But so I was slightly disappointed when watching it, but I still found myself being like really into it and really excited at key scenes. Especially, boy, nothing beats that rooftop fight between Raph and Leo. Ooh wee. That's just something that will never leave my memory. Like if I get old and my mind starts to decay, that'll be the last thing that goes. Because it looks so good, and like the voice acting is spot on, and it really does suck that they replaced some of the original voice actors. But I will say, of the people they replaced them with, only Sarah Michelle Gellar I don't think is she's the only one that's not really giving too much effort. Like I love Sarah Michelle Gellar, but I don't think she was really that into this, and you could tell.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Stewart, I don't think ever mails it in. Like he's always.
He was wonderful, and I thought Chris Evans. I thought Chris Evans was amazing because he really channels Casey from the first movie.
I want to get into
told
where
me that
Chris
was
Evans
Elias
is at this
Koteas,
point.
and yeah,
You would have believed it.
I would have believed it. Yeah, because he's got that same attitude and the same kind of swagger that Casey Jones in the first movie had. Even as far as like repeating some of the things that he would say, like the way that he talks to April and he's like always calling her babe and stuff. Like that was very much a callback to that first film.
He does the 2 minutes for high sticking line from the original film.
Cricket. You gotta know what a crumpet is
to understand cricket. Yeah.
Don't tell me a Jose Canseco bat. Tell me you didn't pay money for this.
God, those early late 80s, early 90s jokes
Holy
that just
shit, dude.
Tell me you didn't pay money for this. I think Turtles was probably my very first big pop culture obsession. Not my biggest one, but like my first one for sure. And I was very into the toys. I had a ton of the toys, and in fact ended up in one of my dumber moments gave away a bunch of them when I was growing up. Probably when I was in middle school, I just gave away a bunch of them because I wasn't playing with them anymore and didn't really have the nostalgia for them that I probably should have. Just like, well, I'm a grown up now, so I should probably get rid of these, and got rid of like all of my Ninja Turtle toys. I had like the carrying case, I had the cheapskate, I had like all the main characters, all the turtles, all like Splinter, now all out of box, of course, but Bebop, Rocksteady, like I had so many turtle toys. It was just kind of like, if we need an idea of what to get Steven, we get him Ninja Turtles. Now that then led to Star Trek, which then led to Star Wars, which then led into comic books. So like I had it built on itself, but yeah.
There was a crossover. There were Star Trek Ninja Turtles figures. Do you remember those?
I do remember that. I actually had
and the Universal Monster ones too.
I was about to say I had one of the Universal Monster ones. I think I had like the Wolfman one, because again, werewolves, me and werewolves. But yeah, I think I had.
Of course, it was Raph. If it was the werewolf, it was Raph.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure.
I mean, Raphael was also the best Ninja Turtle. I don't think anyone will dispute that ever.
I agree. He's not my favorite, but he is the best.
Michelangelo was my favorite when I was younger, and then as I got older, it segued into Raph. But yeah, Raph is the best of the turtles.
It's always been Donatello for me.
I mean, that tracks. I don't know. Leonardo is just kind of the boring one. He's like the Cyclops of the group.
He's the Mario in Mario Kart. He's just the balanced character.
Exactly.
Like,
he's kind of
right there in the middle.
Yeah, he is the tether that, or the anchor that tethers the other three, which is kind of a boring character to write on paper, but
it's an important job.
It is.
We respect you, Leo.
Someone has to do it, and I'm glad he's there to do it for us, keeping it real for our sins. But yeah, no, I grew up, and I don't know when I kind of phased out on Turtles. It probably would have been shortly after the third movie. I was definitely not as juiced. I was less juiced about every consecutive film in the franchise. Like, I loved the 1990 film, had it on VHS, watched it so much that my father eventually lost the tape. He did that with a few tapes of mine. I think he ended up doing that with the Tiny Toon Adventures, How I Spent My Summer Vacation, as well.
Oh no, that's such a good one.
I loved that one. I watched it so many times, and that he got annoyed and lost them. Oh no, the tape was ruined.
Oh no.
I don't know where it went. Wow, it's gone. That's weird. Yeah, all that. So, and I did. I love that movie so much that my dad had to lose it so that I would stop watching it. But and then the second one came out, and I saw it on VHS, and I was like, I mean, I like that there are other mutants. I like that we get Tucka and Razor. Do I wish they were Bebop and Rocksteady? Absolutely, I do. But you know, I wish there were more of them in the movie. Why is Vanilla Ice here? I don't understand. And then the third movie, I was just kind of like, it had so little to do with the previous film that I was just very confused by the whole thing.
I've still never seen the third movie, and I refuse to. I saw the trailer when I was a kid, and I was like, nope, that's not for me.
I had the junior novelization as a kid, and I read it at least 3 times when I was growing up, but like before I saw the movie even. So then I saw the movie. I think I saw the third one in theaters. I think it's the only Ninja Turtles film to date that I've actually seen in the theaters.
Poor man.
And I was kind of like, I don't know what this is. And so I guess I was not surprised when they didn't make any more movies after that until this one, which came out 14 years later, by which point I had moved on. Like I was a comic book nerd in 2007. Like that's just kind of where I was. So yeah, not really into this movie. Did not watch it for the first time until last night in preparation for this episode. So this is
You'd never seen this before?
No, it's the first time watch for me.
Man.
And I actually have never seen the Michael Bay produced ones either.
Really? You should check those out. They're
I
definitely might. turn your brain off and have a good time kind of movie. So
I mean,
don't go into it expecting something too deep, but they're
that's a
really
Michael
fun.
Bay movie for you. So
yeah, they're really fun though. I have a great time with both of those movies. The second one really leans into cartoonishness, and not in a bad way. I think, like Secret of the Ooze did in hindsight.
Yeah, Secret of the Ooze is just it's just goofy. Now was my introduction to David Warner, so I will always have it. For that.
He's the scientist guy.
Yeah, he's the geeky scientist dude. And then you get
them about the ooze.
Yeah, you've got Super Shredder in that one, who then just like dies immediately. He's there, and then he just dies instantly. Like
I think
this was our
the
threat.
Second one. The second one, though it is nowhere near as good as the first one, is infinitely more quotable. Because there's so many just goofy ass lines in the second one. I'm constantly like a little too Raph.
Yeah, look, it's Raph. Yeah, a little too Raph. That's a good line.
It's kind of like I don't know. It's just the first movie was so serious and pretty amazing, and it's like almost like the second one is just taking the piss, you know.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
They're just like, we're just gonna have a good time now because parents hated what we did in the first one, so fuck you. We're just gonna fuck around and have a great time, and I hope you like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like we're basically just gonna do whatever we want. You didn't like the first one because it was too violent, whatever. Fine, we'll just go ahead and
You know what?
do.
Mikey's gonna fight with sausages instead. What do you think about that?
Is that better? Is that better? You like that? You dicks.
Oh, you know what? My favorite one though, and I don't say this that often anymore because it's a little dated.
Oh
But my
jeez.
favorite line from that movie is when Kino is hitting on those girls,
Mm-hmm.
and the girl says, "In your dreams," and he's like, "Yeah, when I do, I'll dream of something a little thinner."
Oh God.
It's like, no, Kino, no.
Kino. Do not neg that
I
poor
mean,
young woman.
they were being rude. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I'd have to watch it again to see who really is the aggressor in that situation. I think they're probably both assholes.
Yeah, I don't know. Just maybe just, don't harass women, maybe. I
Oh,
don't know. Oh God, yeah, and Kino, I think, is the kid from Surf Ninjas. Is that a movie we could cover on this podcast? Probably.
I don't
We
know,
could
but
probably cover
Kino,
Surf Ninjas.
the way that Kino got his role is he was Donatello in the suit in the first movie. He was the
Right.
stunt actor for Donatello in the first film.
And his dad was a stunt performer as well, as I
Yep.
recall.
Yes.
So yeah, like this is kind of in the family. In fact, I think his dad is in Surf Ninjas also.
Probably.
Along with Rob Schneider.
Yes.
That's a thing that
Oh,
happens.
how the mighty have fallen.
Ugh, was he ever really mighty? I don't know that he
There was a time there where, I mean, that South Park parody exists for a reason, man.
Oof.
Because that was just how it was for a while. Rob Schneider was everything. He was a big
Rob
deal.
Schneider to Durkey Dur.
It's a stapler.
God, I don't know. That happened, and we all let it happen. Basically, is what...
I'll tell you what. Honestly, I did enjoy the Deuce Bigelow films. I think Eddie Griffin had
You're the one.
a lot to do with that because my boy Eddie's in that, and he's hilarious. And Rob Schneider and him have good chemistry in those movies, and they're not good movies, but they are funny and entertaining. At least the first one. The second one, of course, goes a little too far, but still has a little bit of the charm of the first one. Outside of that, Rob Schneider can suck a fuck.
Yeah, he's. I don't even know that I will defend the Deuce Bigelow film. So
he's the weed guy at SNL, though.
Mm-hmm.
He's the everything you could put your weed in it.
Yeah, but on the flip side of that, he's also the Rich Meister on SNL. So
yes,
there's a dark side everywhere.
Yes, Richarama.
Oh God. What a terrible sketch.
I do love me some SNL though, even the bad sketches.
I love SNL too. That was one of the characters that I can't believe hit. Like the 90s were weird, man.
Yeah. Well, we didn't really have what with all these gas crises and global warming and nuclear threats and fascism looming around the corner and all that. We didn't have anything, to worry about. So, Rob Schneider. That's how you explain Rob Schneider. Like we didn't really need to be distracted. So
the world wasn't on fire yet, and he wasn't embracing the fire, so we could appreciate it. I don't know. I was never in on Rob Schneider to the extent that other people were. I think my favorite Rob Schneider performance is Necessary Roughness, where he's basically just doing Rich Meister as an announcer for a college football team. I think that might be my favorite of his performances.
He has some good small roles in some Adam Sandler movies.
He's the You Can Do It guy in The Waterboy and Little Nicky for some reason.
Yes.
That's there is an entire Sandler verse.
He was great in Demolition Man as well, I thought.
Oh, future episode of this podcast, Demolition Man. He's also in Judge Dredd. Future episode of this podcast, Judge Dredd.
Yeah. Very exciting about that.
Yeah, we're gonna cover both of the Judge Dredd movies on this podcast at some point. That's a thing we're gonna do because they're never gonna make a sequel to the Carl Urban one. They're just not.
And those are unfortunately, and those are the only things he's ever done. Those two things we just mentioned: Demolition Man and Judge Dredd.
It's not, but God.
Damn it.
Why would you want to bring up any of the rest of it, honestly?
Well, not for his roles, at least. There's some
Mm,
okay movies in here, but he doesn't really have much to do with them being okay.
no. In fact, I think any movie that he's in that's okay, I don't think he has anything to do with the reason why it is.
I can stand by that. Oh, he's in your you love that movie that everybody hates. You don't mess with the Zohan. He's in that.
I mean, it's a Sandler movie, so yeah, he's in it. Like,
Yeah.
Zohan is, I think it's an underrated Sandler film. I think that one might be one of the better ones.
I've never wanted to see it until you recently said that it was funny, and now I want to check it out.
I heard, I didn't want to see it either until I heard a similar notion put forth by my the Blank Check podcast, my favorite podcast. They're like, Zohan's good, and I was like, is it though? And I watched it. I'm like, no, this is pretty funny. So there you go. Don't mess with the Zohan. I think is maybe the best Sandler movie. But I hold no nostalgia for like Billy Madison Billy Madison or Happy Gilmore. I have no nostalgia for those because I didn't watch those as a kid. So
There you go. Hey, you think we ought to go through the plot on this sucker?
might as well. Go ahead and you go ahead and get the Canadian quarter of ambivalence or whatever the hell we call it.
Of indifference.
Indifference. I should write this shit down. The lore, it's too much lore. Where's Brett when you need him? Oh, right. Tracking down monsters.
Yeah.
The plot in 60 seconds is a part of the show where we recount the plot of the film that we are discussing in 60 seconds or less at the behest of, in this case, the Canadian quarter of indifference. When Brett's here, it's the D6 of destiny. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and Tucker's going to flip that coin. I'm going to call it. And I'm going to take his word for it because his camera's not working today. And we'll recount the plot in 60 seconds or less. You got the coin ready, Tucker?
If my camera were working, you would see that I am already prepared to flip this
All right.
coin.
I can't see that because your camera is not working, as is established.
Love it.
It's great. Love everything about this day.
All right, I'm flipping it. Call it in the air. Here goes.
I'm going to call heads.
We have tails, sir.
Fuck. All right.
We got the moose.
You put 60 seconds on the clock then, and I will recount the plot of TMNT in 60 seconds or less. Go ahead and give me the 30 and 10-second warnings per usual as well.
All right. Whenever you start, I will start your time.
Lawrence Fishburne tells us that Shredder's dead and the turtles are still around. Leonardo's in South America or Central America for some reason, fighting warlords. April finds him because she's finding statues for this rich dude. She brings it back. Leo doesn't come with her, but then joins later. Raphael is a dark vigilante of the night called the Night Stalker. He ends up getting in a fight with Casey Jones and then in a fight with Leonardo. When Leonardo comes back, the rest of the turtles reunite. Raphael quits the turtles. There's this dude named Max Winters who's like an ancient warlord called Yautol, who like was immortal for some reason because he released monsters on the earth, like a Pandora's box situation.
30 seconds.
And then so he realizes that immortality is a curse, so he's trying to track down these monsters, but in doing so he brings back these statues, which were actually his brothers, and so they find and capture the monsters, but they capture Leo instead because they want to remain immortal because they've been frozen in rock for years. I don't know. The turtles band together. They defeat the statue monsters. They take away the dude's immortality, and the Foot Clan vows to return another day. Good
job. That's pretty good.
Yeah, not too bad. There were probably a few minor points that I mean. Yeah, and Casey Jones and April O'Neil are there too.
You hit the broad strokes.
Yeah. So which is what the plot in 60 is all about. Like we're not getting into the nitty gritty. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I did not care for this one.
Really?
Yeah. Was not excited about this one. I mean, I was excited to see it because I'd never seen this one before, and I have again a lot of nostalgic feelings about the turtles. But like, I don't know. Like, I was just kind of like, what are like. It felt like a Gargoyles movie that was retrofit to be a Ninja Turtles movie is what it felt like to me. Yeah.
I got to tell you, when this movie came out, it kind of blew my mind.
Okay.
Because in 2007, this looked amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It does not anymore.
No.
Animation has aged, unfortunately, most of it pretty poorly. There's still some really solid shit in this movie that looks
Sure.
great.
But
But
like
as a whole,
you can't compare this to like Across the Spider-Verse. You just can't.
no. Or even the new Turtle movie that's coming out.
Right, which also
Cannot wait
looks
to see that.
fucking insane.
Yes. Ice Cube, man, as the main villain. You know I'm there. Day
Absolutely.
one.
Hannibal Buress, like you got a great cast on this new one.
Paul Rudd up in this bitch. Even the Deb Malone guy. I'm not sure if it's before or after Malone, but he's there, man.
It's after. It's a post Malone.
I gotcha. Okay.
It's a post Malone world we just live in it.
Yeah, dude.
But yeah.
Oh,
no,
and I watched I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but speaking of that new one coming out, I watched a featurette on YouTube talking with the young people who play the turtles. And they're all just kids, man.
Yeah,
Like between the ages
tell.
of like 13 and 17. And they were talking to Seth Rogen about the process of having them, you know, have really great chemistry, and they just kind of threw them together for a couple weeks and had them hang out, and then they had them record with each other. Like a lot of times, especially nowadays, everybody just kind of does their part separately, and they just throw it all in there. You don't get a lot of people standing in a room, you know, reacting off of each other anymore.
Agreed. And so it shows.
So to have that for those kids, it's a really great little video. It looks like those kids are having a blast.
It does.
And they said a lot of the dialogue was improvised or, you know, changed slightly just because like those kids had sort of over those couple weeks sort of kind of gained a back and forth with each other.
A rapport.
Yeah. Yep. And to sort of fit the chemistry of that, like they changed some of the dialogue. I'm really excited about this movie because it just seems like who's involved with it is just really into trying to make the best possible thing.
And the cast, the cast looks great. Io Debris, Rose Byrne, Natasha Demetrio, Jackie Chan, Seth Rogen, John Cena. Seth Rogen and John Cena as Bebop and Rocksteady.
I'm way into that. Yes.
Paul Rudd, Giancarlo Esposito, Maya Rudolph, Ice Cube, Post Malone, Hannibal Buress, and then the actors playing the turtles: Nicholas Cantu, Brady Noon, Micah Abbey, and Shimon Brown Jr. Like, just God, what a voice cast on this. Like, I kind of want to see it just for the voice cast alone.
You know it's gonna be good.
I need to catch Barbie and Oppenheimer first, but like it's next on the list after those. So
apparently, Trent Reznor did the music for this new Ninja Turtles movie.
I mean, he's doing scores now. He does pretty much every Fincher score.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't feel like I read an article a couple weeks ago where he says that Nine Inch Nails doesn't fit into the landscape of today's popular music. That's why he doesn't do any Nine Inch Nails stuff. So that's cool, man. Keep doing scores because they're all great. Yeah.
Him and Atticus Ross, like just teaming up and just knocking out some really great scores. Like, yeah, has he won an Oscar yet? I feel like he's won 2 Oscars.
I believe it.
Because Academy Award winning composer Trent Reznor.
Hell of a musician and hell of a guy. This dude, I don't know if he still has it, but the Nine Inch Nails website used to have all of the individual audio files from every track from every one of his songs. And he encouraged you to download them and make new stuff with them, remix his songs. Just use that stuff to your heart's content creatively. And I really think that's admirable for someone who doesn't have to do that. He doesn't have to do that.
Right. I agree.
But by doing that, like he's helping people learn music production, helping people, you know, improve their knowledge of music theory. And I just think that's really cool that he does that kind of stuff.
You're allowing artists to create art because everyone needs to be able to start somewhere. And if you can help someone get a leg up, then why wouldn't you want to do that? Like that's pretty great. So yeah, Trent Reznor, good for you, man.
We love you, Trent.
You the man, Trent. But yeah, so that's the new
man
one.
Now, Trent.
We're
sorry, go ahead.
Why did you do that?
Because
Weird.
it's the fun thing to do.
Is it? We're talking
Yeah.
2007's TMNT, which they we'll get to the sequel possibilities later. I do want to talk where Chris Evans is at, because Chris Evans is at the beginning of his really weird superhero run that he does in the early 2000s.
He did. We're gonna talk about that low key superhero movie he did. Julie really likes that movie. What was that?
Push?
The Losers. No,
The Losers. We have already talked about The Losers. We have a previous episode on The Losers. But it starts in 2005. He's cast as Johnny Storm in the Tim Story Fantastic Four movie.
Oh, yeah.
2 years later, he does this. And then the same year this comes out, he's in the sequel to that Fantastic Four movie, Rise of the Silver Surfer, also directed by Tim Story, also featuring Lawrence Fishburne. So there are 2 2007 films with Chris Evans and Lawrence Fishburne, based on comic book properties. And then you've got Push in 2009, The Losers in 2010, also in 2010, Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
It all culminates in his performance in Scott Pilgrim.
And then in 2011, the next year, Captain America, the First Avenger.
There it is.
And then, of course, The Avengers in 2012, which kicks off his massively popular MCU run, which then culminates in Avengers Endgame in 2019.
Captain America, the First Avenger, or as I like to call it, Marvel Studios presents The Rocketeer.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, down to the director, Joe Johnston. Yep.
That's how he got that job.
I would not be in any way surprised by that.
I was actually very, very disappointed that we didn't get some kind of, like, even just a name drop cameo of, like, Cliff Secord or something.
Well, you probably...
Or maybe we just saw the BG flying in the background somewhere. I would have shit my pants.
I don't know if Disney Studios actually was in charge of Marvel at that point. Like, I don't know when that sale went out, so they probably could not have done so. I think it wasn't until
Captain America, I believe, they were still doing stuff with Paramount at that point, I believe.
I think Avengers was the first film under the Disney deal. Yeah.
If you look at the Captain America poster, it is Marvel and Paramount put that out.
So that tracks.
All the early MCU movies were Paramount, except for the Hulk, because Universal still owned the rights to the Hulk.
And still do, which is why there has not been and probably will not be a Incredible Hulk solo movie with Mark Ruffalo as the star. That's just probably not going to happen.
I think we'll get a World War Hulk or Planet Hulk, possibly.
Nope.
Especially with the
Thor Ragnarok already happened.
I don't want to.
We're not going to.
I'm just saying. I think we're going to get something, but I think it's going to be an ensemble movie, kind of like, you know how Civil War is technically a Captain America movie,
right? But then it's actually Avengers 2.5 or whatever.
Yeah, it'll be like the Hulk plus everybody else.
I think they're going to end up doing like a Young Avengers thing, and I think he will be the Hulkling stand-in, because there's one episode left in Secret Invasion, and we are no closer to seeing Hulkling actually show up.
I was going to say, he does, I don't want to spoil anything, but he does exist in the MCU.
The Hulkling does?
Hulk's son does.
Oh, no, I know. That's what I'm talking about. Like,
okay.
I mean, but we've got all the other Young Avengers we've got Kamala Khan, we've got
Wanda's kids.
We've got Wanda's kids. We've got Elijah Bradley from Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Ironheart.
We have Riri Williams now. Like we've got all these Stature, Scott Lang's daughter. Like all these characters are in there. Haley Steinfeld's Hawkeye. Like
we don't have Baby Kang, but we could very easily have Baby Kang.
I was gonna say he's in there now, so yeah, absolutely. When we'll probably need to recast him soon.
I don't remember what Baby Kang's name is. I just always call him Baby Kang.
Iron Lad is what they call him.
There you go.
Yeah,
there it is.
But Baby Kang. But yeah, they're all kind of there in the background, so it wouldn't be surprising if instead of just a Hulk movie, we just get him as part of the Young Avengers roster.
Also, we've got Miss Marvel as well, who she's
Kamala Khan. Yeah, I said her.
She's been hinted at as possibly being a mutant. That
Right.
was kind of a big thing in the series, is they kept kind of throwing that term around all loosey goosey,
Hmm.
whereas everyone in the know was like, "You be careful saying
Hmm.
that shit,
Yeah, you
because
can't just.
if you don't follow through on that, we all gonna be mad.
We gonna be mad,
We'll be real mad."
real mad. Um, the and then Sarah Michelle Gellar, you have her as April O'Neil coming off of The Grudge 2 for that
Uh,
one.
yeah.
And then prior to that, she was coming off the Scooby-Doo movies, which was Scooby-Doo was her coming off of Buffy. So like
Mhm.
she's got kind of these three big franchises, boom, 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 right in a row, and then kind of takes a big old step back.
Well, I think that's
Uh,
when her and Freddie Prinze got married and started having kids, man. And they both kind of took a big step back, I feel like.
I mean, here's the thing, she's in stuff, but it's nothing that I think any of us have seen. Um, she's doing things. I mean, she's working. In 2007, she also has a movie called Suburban Girl, another one called The Air That I Breathe. Veronica Deserves to Die in Possession in 2009. She starts doing some TV work in 2010, video game voiceover work in 2010, 2011. I mean, she's kicking around she's on All My Children for 60 episodes, apparently.
Nice.
Like, so she's working, she's just not doing anything that I think we would have known about during
Yeah,
that span of time.
and it looks like, I mean, she did a little bit of producing here and there over the
Mm-hmm.
years as well. But outside of that, I don't know. I think after Buffy and her big popularity explosion, I feel like, to me, it seemed like kind of a self-imposed exile.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I think she kind of wanted to step back and, raise a family and shit. Like, you don't
And
see Freddie Prinze Jr. doing anything after Scooby Doo.
he does a lot of voice work. Like he's in like I think a lot of those Star Wars shows.
Yeah.
And then he also does he also is really involved in professional wrestling,
Oh,
actually.
I had no idea. That's crazy.
Yeah, like he's like I think he's a producer. I'm gonna look this up real quick. I
Him
think
and
he's
Chucky, you never would have thought, right?
mm-mm. But I think he's like a producer on like some wrestling stuff or something. I don't know.
Every time
No,
every
he's a
time a new
writer.
Chucky movie comes out, he's all over the wrestling shows.
From 2008 to 2009, so there for the span of like 2 years, he was a writer on WWE SmackDown and WWE's Main Event.
I gotta say, that's kind of rad.
He wrote 26 episodes. He's credited on 26 episodes of WWE SmackDown. So like
Fucking
that's a
rad.
thing that happened. That's a
I'm way into
thing that
that.
he
Good for
did.
him, man. When you can just sit back and like input creatively without having to, like be there and be in front of a camera and perform and get ready and all this shit,
Mm-hmm.
good job, man.
And I mean he does. He's in a lot of the Star Wars stuff, Star Wars Rebels, The Bad Batch. Like he did this great defense of or this great takedown of toxic Star Wars fans on a podcast that's kind of made its round on TikTok several times about how people don't understand the Force, how no one understands the Force, and like why gray Jedis are such a shitty idea, and what balance actually means, and all this shit. And he goes, "I know it because Dave Filoni told me. He knows it because George Lucas told him. So shut the fuck up." Like he's just really matter of fact. And I'm just like, God, Freddie Prinze Jr., I love you. You are all of us.
Well, I've always had massive respect for both of them, both him and Sarah Michelle Gellar. 'Cause
I
they
mean,
always seem very personable, and they always seem like such a great couple, kind of like a Hollywood power couple. Honestly.
yeah, without the power, really. Like maybe they had it, I think, when they first got together, but like they've kind of taken a step back and realized, hey, there are probably more important things in a Hollywood career. And I mean, they keep working. They're still working. They're still doing
Well,
shit.
and they've both done things that they will be living off the residuals of for the rest of their lives. They don't have to work ever again, probably.
Probably
Honestly.
not. Between the Scooby-Doo movies and Buffy, like Sarah's pretty well set. And
Even shit like She's All That,
mhm.
and Freddy's in the Scooby Doo movies as well.
I Know What You Did Last Summer. Freddy's in those.
Mhm.
Like yeah, he's doing okay. So good for him. Good for both of them, actually.
Agreed.
And then what do you think about Patrick Stewart as the guy you think is the villain, and then turns out, surprise, he's actually not?
I thought that his performance was really good. It was kind of weird because usually I can separate the vocal performance with the design of the character on screen,
Mm-hmm.
but just hearing Patrick Stewart and
Mm.
seeing like a young looking buff dude with hair
Mm-hmm.
is just a little weird.
It is. Yeah.
He's great in it, though. He's great. And I would say, separate from Patrick Stewart being great in this film, the character design of Winters is amazing. It's just putting
Mm-hmm.
the two together is just it's a little weird.
It is. It's weird. It's weird.
Sometimes you get wrapped up in it and you forget, but then you remember, you're like, oh shit, that's still Patrick Stewart, and this is still weird.
The thing I like about the design is that it's because he's supposed to be an immortal, so he's an old man in the body of a man who hasn't aged since that day.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's Patrick Stewart gives you the gravitas and the wisdom of a guy who's been around forever.
Yeah.
And then, but in the body of just, like Xanatos from Gargoyles. Like, I swear this movie is just like it's a Gargoyles movie, but with turtles instead of gargoyles.
Maybe.
It's just what it feels like to me. Like it feels very Gargoyles. It doesn't.
I don't really have much of a frame of reference, unfortunately. Gargoyles was right at the edge of like me being over Saturday morning cartoons.
That's fair. It's all on Disney Plus though,
me.
so you should absolutely go back and
me.
rewatch those. So I'm just saying, definitely go back and rewatch those because pretty good.
That's what I've heard.
Some good serialized storytelling there for sure.
That is what I've heard. I think that they kind of wasted a cameo with Kevin Smith, honestly.
Agreed.
Because it's mostly just him grunting and screaming, and I mean, you get Kevin Smith
build in this movie too, by the way.
As a voice actor, I mean, you get Kevin Smith, you use Kevin Smith.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed like such a waste. It was cool at the time because he wasn't. I remember thinking it was cool at the time because he wasn't really doing much stuff like that.
Let's look at what Kevin Smith's doing around this time as in terms of an actor.
Can I mention that weird movie he was in where he was the sick friend of Jennifer Garner?
Please.
That was like his. I feel like that was his Oscar bid there, and he was really good in that movie. What was that movie called?
That movie was called,
I think it's funny
Catch
too because
and Release.
Yes. I think it's funny too that the relationship of his character to Jennifer Garner in that film, because if you know anything about his relationship with Ben Affleck at the time, you know that Jennifer Garner fucking hated Kevin Smith.
I believe it.
Like, she's pretty much the reason that they kind of stopped being friends there for a while.
Okay.
She was like, I don't like this fucking dude. Like,
yeah.
He's good in that movie too. They're both good in that movie. That's low key, like it's a pretty good like Sunday morning movie or Sunday afternoon movie.
Yeah, I've never seen it. So as an actor, Kevin Smith starts in the same place he directs. He's basically Silent Bob for the first like several years of his career, from 94 until 2000. Whenever he's credited on screen, it's as Silent Bob. I think the one exception is a 1999 thing called Big Helium Dog, where he plays a director, a Brian Lynch film. But
he's not Silly Bob in that one.
No, but beyond that, he is Silent Bob in literally everything else. And most of those are either his movies, like that he directed, or movies that he produced through View Askew, like Drawing Flies, which was I think Jeff Anderson's movie.
No, you're thinking of Now You Know.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, Matthew Gissing and Malcolm Ingram, starring Jason Lee. But that is a View Askew production that he is in as Silent Bob. So, and credited as Silent Bob in that movie as well.
Silent Bob, a character that also exists in the Degrassi universe.
Mm-hmm.
And in Wes Craven's Screamiverse as well.
Right. So one of those credits was 2000 Scream 3. And then he is also in the Degrassi show as Silent Bob, Jay and Silent Bob do Degrassi, I think.
I think he is Silent Bob and he's Kevin Smith
Okay.
in that show.
I guess that's not terribly surprising.
Because they both exist, kind of like in Clerks 3, or no, not Clerks 3, in Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, they both exist in the same continuity, Silent Bob and Kevin Smith.
I don't think that happens until 2005, but he comes back several times to Degrassi because he is apparently a fan of Degrassi, as mentioned in, I think, Chasing Amy. He mentions his, I think Banky mentions his love of Degrassi, and Ben Affleck says, "You've got a weird thing for Canadian melodrama." And he says, "I got a weird things for chicks that say a boot." Which is a line that always kind of sticks with me. But he plays.
You know what line sticks with me from that movie?
Oh God, what?
What's a Nubian?
That's? Yeah.
Jason Lee, just a treasure of a man. Love that man.
He's a
famous
Scientologist,
skateboarder,
yeah.
Jason Lee.
Scientologist Jason Lee. But yeah, goes on to play Silent Bob many more times, but then starts to pop up in other movies. He's in Now You Know. He is in Daredevil as as Jack Kirby, forensic assistant. He has cameos in Duck Dodgers and Yes Dear.
Live
the show
Free
Joey.
or Die Hard.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Veronica Mars. So he's doing a lot of TV, and then he starts showing up in other. 2006, you've got Dougal and Southland Tales, as well as Clerks 2, where he comes back as Silent Bob. Also in 2006, you've got Catch and Release, and then which is the movie he does immediately before this one, and then later in 2007, he also does.
He does Live Free or Die Hard, where him and Bruce Willis famously got along so well that he agreed to be in Kevin Smith's next movie.
Cop Out.
Which did not go how either of them expected it to.
No. Well, Bruce Willis is the kind of, from what I understand, Bruce Willis is the kind of actor who will show up on set and grill the director. Or was, I guess, because he's got his condition now, which had pretty much taken him out of being able to perform in any way. Unfortunately. But he's the kind of guy who would show up on set and basically quiz the director about like lenses and different aspects of filmmaking, shot composition, stuff like that. Because Bruce Willis is a professional actor who knows his shit. Kevin Smith, famously a director who does not know much about the actual process of filmmaking because he famously dropped out of film school, which is why his movies are technically not great. The things that made his early films stand out to the extent that they did was the dialogue, was the writing was really sharp. And that kind of dulled, I think, as he got a little older. I think he kind of started to rest on his laurels a little bit as he got along. And
something
so now,
something I will say about Kevin Smith though is that he's very self-aware, and he would probably agree with you.
Probably, I think, and I don't think the weed helped, honestly. But yeah, and I think he will be the first one to say, no, I don't know anything about. I mean, he goes, I've made a few movies and stuff, but like I'm not like a proficient, like great technical filmmaker. Because he's not, like, he can't claim that, because his films all, like, if he's got a good DP working with him and like helping him, I think they can be better. But like
and to be fair, Dave Klein has improved with each film,
right? From
just setting the camera in one spot for 10 minutes in Clerks to some of the shit you get in Dogma. Man, Dogma looks fantastic. For a Kevin Smith movie,
right?
It looks fantastic.
Is that the same DP?
Yeah, Dave Klein has done everything for him up to that point, I think, except for maybe Jersey Girl.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kevin Smith, and again, some of his later films pretty good, pretty solid. Red State in particular is the one that I like of his. I think might be his best movie. But also really like Chasing Amy. That was kind of one that I don't know that Chasing Amy has aged particularly well.
Depends on who you ask.
Cinematographer on Dogma was Robert Yeoman.
Yeah, I saw that.
Was not Dave Klein. That's the guy who was cinematographer on. He's a Wes Craven cinematographer. Wes Craven guy.
Nice.
Did Asteroid City, French Dispatch, Grand Budapest, 2016 Ghostbusters. So yeah, different guy.
Well, I think that may be one of the only films that Kevin Smith has done that Dave Klein did not do, because he did Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy. He did Clerks 2, so he took a break for Dogma and Jay and Silent Bob.
Okay.
Came back for Clerks 2, and then
And
sticks
Jersey
with him
Girl.
even when he directed the pilot for Reaper, which is an amazing show that everybody should watch, that I mentioned on our Tucker and Dale episode, because Tyler Labine is one of the main characters. Let's see, he shot Zack and Miri, he shot Cop Out, shot Red State. And it looks like that was the last thing that he did he shot Deadwood the movie. Good
He
job,
also
Dave
did
Klein.
some episodes of Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian as well.
Yeah, but Deadwood though.
I know you like Deadwood.
I love Deadwood.
I'm just saying he did a couple other shows that maybe some of our listeners have watched and enjoyed.
Acknowledged. Why are we going on this big long thing about Kevin Smith?
Because he's in this movie.
I guess so. And he's fun to talk about. I mean, there's just endless facts to talk about.
But basically, I say all that to say that there's this period of time in the mid to late 2000s where we're like, maybe Kevin Smith is an actor. And it kind of ends this year in 2007. Like he has I think a few cameos after that, but I think at that point he's kind of like, I mean, I'll maybe come in and do some cameos here and there, but like I think he kind of switches off, and he does consistently have cameos and shit, small roles and things. But I think
it's too bad, because I think, especially in Catch and Release, I mean, he's a pretty talented actor. I just think that maybe, I don't know. I think he's too antsy just to act. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like he has to do more. He seems like that type of guy, where acting just wouldn't be enough for him. I think that's why Catch and Release is like the only film where he's a main character in the entire movie that he didn't direct.
I think he's a filmmaker first and foremost. And I think part of the reason why, I think part of him always kind of wanted to be an actor, which is why he's in Clerks at all. I think he was originally supposed to play Randall in Clerks, as I recall.
That's why Randall has all the cool lines. Yeah.
Right. So, but then he realized, I can't do all of this if I'm also going to be directing. And so he casts Jeff Anderson, moves into the Silent Bob role, which was, I think, a lot easier for him.
I think it was a good choice too.
I agree. He kind of embodies that. But then, just as Jay and Silent Bob are his Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, he comes back and plays that role a lot of times, and he's very expressive in that role, and they give him gradually more and more to do with each subsequent View Askew movie. So yeah, you can see, and if it's a Harvey Weinstein vehicle, you can see Harvey being like, Kevin's good, you can put him in shit. And this is a Harvey Weinstein vehicle, so you can probably say maybe Harvey had something to do with the fact that Kevin Smith is the diner cook in this movie.
Maybe. Yeah, Kevin Smith was one of Harvey's golden boys back then. Him and Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez.
Yep, that's the trifecta right there. There were others in that group as well, but those were the big three for sure. But yeah, we should mention that the actor cast as Splinter, Meiko Iwamatsu, was announced at Comic-Con. First of all, that guy has been acting since like the late 50s, so he's in everything. 60 years.
Look at a picture of him and you'll be like, oh yeah, that guy. He is 100% of that guy actor. He's announced at Comic-Con and then passes away the day after Comic-Con. Literally the day after that announcement is made, he dies. He's recorded most of his dialogue, but not all of his dialogue. He is replaced. I think the actor Greg Baldwin is the one that comes in and does a lot of his cleanup work, a lot of the work he wasn't able to do because he had passed away before this movie was finished. So they do get a sound alike there, which the director says, I probably should have just recast the role because no one can sound exactly like Mako. So, yeah.
But yeah, like
Yeah,
again,
alright.
he's like a prolific actor. He's been in everything from Conan the Barbarian to Pearl Harbor. Like,
And he did a lot of TV in his early career too. The guy's been doing stuff since the 50s.
but yeah, this is his last theatrically released film. He's in another 2007, I think must have been a direct to DVD or maybe a movie called Rise, Blood Hunter, starring Lucy Liu and Michael Chiklis.
Oh, was that directed to video?
I don't know. I've just everything online that I've read says that Tmnt is his last theatrically released film. This is his last live action film. But yeah, apparently it's a vampire movie. Is that a movie we could cover on this podcast?
I don't know, but it's produced by Ghost House Pictures, so Sam Raimi had something to do with it.
There you go. There you go. Lucy Liu, Michael Chiklis, Carla Gugino. I love Carla Gugino. Robert Forster.
This looks like a shitty movie, though.
It really does, though. Holt McElhaney is in there.
I feel like this was...
God, what a mid 2000s. What a weird time.
Yeah. That was a point to where, like, studios were just throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks, because there wasn't really, like, it was a very weird time where there wasn't anything that was like super popular. Everything had kind of leveled out.
Mm-hmm. And then of course you've also got Ziyi Zhang in this movie as well, from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Memoirs of a Geisha.
Oh yeah, she's the voice of the Foot Clan lady. She's great.
She's so good in this movie. And I like her in just about every other thing I've seen her in, even the bad stuff like Cloverfield Paradox. Like, she's just great, and I love it when she shows up in things. I love it when we give Ziyi Zhang work. Please keep giving her work. She's a delight. And I'm kind of mad that we didn't get a sequel to this, just because I would have wanted her to get more work out of it.
I'd love to see what she's planning with the Foot Clan, man. Like that. Well, that was when I saw that at the movie theater, I was like, all right, let's go. Number 2, a couple years, here it comes.
Would you like to know what the Foot Clan was planning, Tucker?
Yes, please tell me.
Because we have some notes as to what the director wanted the sequels to be. He had legitimately like full ideas for 2 sequels off of this. The sequel, he said in 2007 he had the idea in mind for a sequel would have been loosely based on the comic book arc City at War.
Oh.
And so Michelangelo would have kind of felt rejected, dejected, and would have joined the Foot Clan sporting a black bandana. And then the Turtles would then have gone to Japan, where they would have crossed paths with Karai, Ziyi Zhang's character, and a resurrected Shredder. So Shredder would have come back. And then the third movie would have introduced the Triceratons.
Yeah.
And we wanted Michael Clark Duncan to voice Commander Mozart of the Triceratons.
Hey, okay. I'm into that.
I also am into that. And then that would have also featured the arrival of the Technodrome from Dimension X.
Dimension X.
And eventually, I think those fell off for 2 reasons. One, the director ended up leaving Imagi Studios, the studio that put this on. And then the studio stopped really doing well. Their 2009 future episode of this podcast, Astro Boy, ended up bombing, and the company went bankrupt.
Astro Boy?
Yes.
How do you bomb with Astro Boy?
It's America, and Astro Boy has apparently never been as big in America.
What? So. But everybody in America knows who Astro Boy. Astro Boy was like one of the first things that I can remember that was ever localized for the United States. You got black and white Astro Boy localized for the United States. Like,
I'm just saying, wild. Man, it didn't do well. I
remember that coming out, but I still can't believe it didn't do any business.
I mean,
that's just ridiculous.
You didn't see it though. That's the problem.
I didn't know that,
and no one else did either. So,
touche.
So basically, the studio kind of fell out. Laird said that, maybe we do a live action CGI hybrid. We've got the Turtles in CG. We've got Sarah Michelle Gellar and Chris Evans come back and play the same roles. and that concept would end up becoming the Michael Bay films from 2016 and
Which I'm glad they waited, because
2014 and 2016.
CG was not ready. It would have looked like garbage.
Yeah, it would not have been good.
Get me Jim Henson's Creature Shop back, and then we can talk.
So I think those ideas for sequels are good. I like those ideas for sequels. I
agree.
There's a part of me that kind of wants to have seen what those would have been, but which is again another reason why I would consider this more of a, I guess maybe I'll concede, maybe not full spin-off, maybe reboot-quel, perhaps.
Yeah.
Like you're just kind of rebooting the franchise, but it technically may be a sequel kind of a thing. But I don't know. It feels, because they were trying to sequelize it as its own kind of separate offshoot franchise, I think we're good to cover it here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that if anything, to describe it in a pop culture way that people of today's audience will understand, it's like this is just a slight variation in the multiverse of the live action Turtles timeline. So not exactly a sequel, just kind of a reimagining of what happened after those 3 movies in a slightly different parallel universe.
That works. I'm kind of waiting for Nickelodeon, who owns the Turtles now. I'm kind of waiting for them to do like an Into the Turtleverse kind of thing.
I'm here for. I mean, they've done it before. Like I said, with the 2003 Turtles that crossed over with the 2000 or the 87 ones, and the 2012 ones did the same.
Just getting as many of the actors from those different variations and
Yes.
back as you possibly can. I mean, Corey Feldman's not doing anything. You can bring him back to voice a Donatello.
Chevy Nova.
Excellent. Yeah, there you go.
He was good. I think he was great as Donatello.
I agree. He only did it for the one film, though, which is kind of a bummer.
No, he did it for the third one. He came back for the third one.
Oh, did he come back for the third one? Okay. All right.
Sure did. Unfortunately, I mean, we could have just had him for the second one. That would have been fucking great. Thanks, Corey Feldman. What were you even doing?
Yeah, I don't know, man. But yeah, I mean, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we talked about it. Anything else?
Turtle power.
Turtle power. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, dude, I had that soundtrack too.
So in the college days when music downloading and piracy was totally a thing, there may or may not have been a time when someone I know discovered that they could download that song off of the internet, and someone I know might have had it. So
your friend had it.
My friend. I'm doing a visual gag by winking at Tucker, but yeah, you guys can't.
That's the thing he's doing.
You can't see that, so
That's why we must describe it to you.
Just did it again. But yeah, that is our episode. Anything else you have to say on TMNT? Before I move into the box office, if Brett were here, where there would be a video game corner, but he's not here, so there's not
because
a video game corner.
there were a couple games based specifically on this film, one of which being a Nintendo Wii game that I remember sucking really hard.
Maybe we can talk Brett into doing an Upsal video game corner episode on just Ninja Turtle games. Text him,
Steven.
Let's text him.
I will, but Steven, that's gonna be a long episode. I'm gonna have visual aids. Because
are we gonna have to release the video for that on Patreon?
I'm sitting here looking at two of the 4 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games released on the Nintendo Entertainment System, just sitting there right on my shelf.
There you go.
Just hanging out.
So maybe that's something we should do for the month of August on the Patreon.
Or any month. I don't care. Let's do TMNT Video Game Corner. I'm way into it.
Okay.
I know it's Brett's Video Game Corner, but that day it will be our Video Game Corner.
I mean, look, I'm sure he's willing to share with you.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we'll text him about that and see if that's something he'd be willing to help spearhead with you.
But my final thoughts on this film would be that I'm a little disappointed that it didn't hold up as well as I remember, because when I saw this at the movie theater, I nearly shit my pants. This movie was so amazing. And I would have been 25 when this came out.
Yeah, old man.
like I said, I've never really stopped liking the Turtles, but they've gotten more in the periphery
Sure.
than out in front. You know, I'm still always
Culturally as
down.
well. Let's be honest. Like they're still
Yeah,
kind of around, but they're not like as front and center as they were in the late 80s, early 90s.
like I've dipped into every series and
Hmm.
every film that's been made since 1987. I have dipped into it, and really the only thing I haven't liked was the Rise. I
Okay.
thought 2012 Turtles, that show is perfect.
Okay.
Like the character designs are a little off-putting at first, but once you get into it and you get used to it, it's I think 2012 Nickelodeon Turtles series is
Hmm.
probably the ultimate, like the peak version of the Turtles, because it's everything that's great about every other version put into something that's also still like completely original. And I recommend it to anybody that's even the slightest fan of the Ninja Turtles. Give it 3 episodes and see if you don't like it, because it's really really good. It's really well written. The voice cast is amazing, even though they change Leos like every season,
As you do.
like you do, as is tradition with these sorts of things.
In accordance with scripture.
Yes, in accordance with Ninja Turtle law.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Like this one I wasn't as invested in. Maybe it was the fact that I was watching it, like late at night. Maybe it was the fact that I haven't really engaged with anything turtle related since maybe the mid 90s, really. But yeah, I was kind of like, it's I mean, yeah, it wasn't great for me. It didn't grab me. So um but Ninja Turtles are great. Maybe I should watch those Michael Bay movies, and I don't know, maybe we'll see.
Check out that 2012 series, man. I'm telling you, dude.
uh
Look at the voice cast on that one. Can we just sidebar and look at the voice cast on the 2012 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Let me hang on. Let me
Because
find.
I think once you see this voice cast, you will be like, oh yes, I probably should see this.
Let me see. Jason Biggs, Rob Paulson, Sean Astin, and Greg Sipes.
Seth Green, Nolan North, Kelly Hugh, Clancy motherfucking Brown,
I do love
Phil
Clancy Brown.
Lamar as Baxter Stockman.
Mae Whitman as April O'Neil.
Ooh,
Josh Peck
yes.
as Casey Jones.
Mm-hmm.
I think they get the voices of the original like Corey Feldman plays
Yep.
Slash.
Yeah, they get everybody in there at some point.
Frank Welker, of course, the ubiquitous
JB
Frank
Smoove
Welker.
is Bebop. My
D.
boy JB
Bradley
Smoove.
D. Bradley Baker's in there. Dietrich Bader is Bigfoot.
Michael Dorn, straight up. Worf is up in this motherfucker. Tom Kenny's
Nice.
up in this motherfucker.
John Heater, Maurice LaMarche, Kevin Michael Richardson, playing
Keith
the Punk
David.
Frogs.
Did you already mention Keith David?
I
Because
have
Keith
not.
David. Gilbert Gottfried,
Bill
Roseanne Barr.
Mosley.
Jeffrey Combs, my boy Jeffrey Combs. I forgot he was the Rat King.
Jim Pittick, like David Tennant, plays
Mark
the
Hamill.
Fugitoid.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Ron Perlman, Danny Trejo, Lewis Black, John DiMaggio himself. I'm sure. Dietrich Bader, you already said. John Heater, Robert Englund, Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Urban himself. I'm telling you, man, Lance Henriksen. Everybody's in this bitch. Bill Moseley, Frank Welker, your boy Frank Welker.
My boy Frank
Lucy
Welker.
Lawless, Michael Ironside, Charlie Murphy. We could go on all day. This list goes on forever.
And Roseanne Barr is the voice of Krang. That's amazing.
Yes, she's really great, actually.
That's insane to me.
Yes. It's just really good. I recommend it to anyone who has even the slightest interest in the Ninja Turtles, because it is, for me, it is the definitive version, the culmination of all the good parts of every version we had seen up to that point.
Okay.
Into just one perfect show.
Okay. Well, right on. What a cast. TMNT comes out on March 23rd, 2007. Opens at number 1 at the box office to $24.3 million, on its way to $54.1 million domestic, another $42 million international, for a grand total of $96 million worldwide. Not a great multiplier. So again, probably also, if it had done better, we might have seen some of those sequels, but it did not. In second place in its third weekend, down from number 2 the week before, is Zack Snyder's 300. In third place, the Mark Wahlberg war movie, the first of many, a little movie called Shooter. What if there was a shooter?
Hey, Shooter. Hey, Shooter. How's your mother? Say hi to your mother for me,
Say hi to
Shooter.
your mother for me. Is that a Peter Berg film? I'm gonna look and see if that's a Peter, because he does a lot of movies with Peter Berg. No, that is Anton Fuqua.
Don't shoot me. How's it going? Don't shoot me.
I'm gonna shoot you instead. Say hi to your mother for me. In hell.
Hi to your mother for me.
In fourth place, the Walt Becker film Wild Hogs.
Okay.
Tim Allen, Martin Lawrence, William
Yeah.
H. Macy. What if they all rode motorcycles? John
What a
Travolta
cast.
is he in that one too?
What a cast. Is
What
all
a-
I'll say.
God, that's a thing that happened, and we all let it
And they
happen.
made a sequel to it, I'm pretty sure.
Did they really?
I think so.
Oh my God. Yeah, John Travolta's in that one as well. Ray Liotta, Marissa Tomei, MC Gainey, Stephen
Master of
Tobolowsky.
Ceremonies.
God,
No, they did not make a sequel. Why did I think there was a Wild Hogs 2?
I'm glad
Maybe I'm
there's
thinking
not.
of what's the one with all the Adam Sandler people except Adam Sandler's not in it, where they're all old guys or something. What's it called? Chris Rock and
Grown
David
Ups.
Spade. Yeah, there you go. Old
Except
guys.
Sandler's absolutely in that.
He
but
is
yeah.
in that. Yeah, you're right.
And in fifth
Old
place,
guys.
the last Mimsy. Didn't see the first
Huh?
Mimsy, so
Yep.
yeah.
I have no context for the Mimsy, so this being the last has no effect on me whatsoever.
Rounding out the top 10, we have the opening weekend of the sequel to the remake of The Hills Have Eyes, Hills Have Eyes 2.
Ooh, surprisingly, a really good remake sequel.
That is what I have heard.
Just a fun little slasher.
I've heard both of those are really, really solid. I don't want to see them
Agreed.
because I don't like the gore shit, but yeah, I've heard they're both very good.
Gotcha.
In seventh place, Premonition. Reign Over Me in eighth place. Speaking of Adam Sandler. In ninth
Was
place,
that the one where he's like the street musician or whatever?
I think it's the 9/11 one.
Oh yeah,
With
He's
him
a
and
homeless guy, right?
him and Don Cheadle, maybe.
Yeah.
Is that
Yep.
what that one is? Yeah, him and Don Cheadle. Yeah. Jada Pinkett Smith, Liv Tyler, Saffron Burrows, Donald Sutherland, Robert Klein. What a cast. Ted motherfucking Raimi,
Nice.
John Delancey, Q himself. And then in ninth place, a little movie called Pride. What if there was a Pride? Terrence
Is that
Howard.
an animated lion movie or something?
I don't know. It's got Terrence Howard in it.
Cool.
I know nothing about this movie. And then
Very
in 10th place, previous episode of this podcast, Dead Silence, down from number 4 the previous week. Go listen to our previous episode on Dead Silence.
Yes, please do.
The tomatometer score, I'm going to have to look up here real quick because I forgot to do it before. It's the one thing I didn't have
Oops.
open.
I
Oops.
can't believe you've done this.
I know. I'm the worst. I don't know why. The tomatometer score on this one is a 35%. The critics' consensus: TMNT's art direction is splendid, but the plot is non-existent and the dialogue lacks the irony and goofy wit of the earlier Ninja Turtles movies. I'm inclined to agree. The Metascore is a 41 with mixed or average reviews from 21 critics. And the Letterboxd score is a 2.8. Tucker, out of 5 stars, how are you rating 2007's TMNT?
Strangely enough, this week I pretty much agree with the Letterboxd. I give it a 2.5.
Give it a 2.5. I give it a 2.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're going. Yeah, not great. I think I liked it a little less than you. Obviously, liked it a little less than you did, but you know, it's a fine thing.
It's something that it's not something that I have aged out of. I don't think this film is, but I think that this film has not aged as well as I would have liked for it to. And I think that's just because of it was kind of a weird time for CG animation, kind of a transition period.
Definitely.
So nothing from that era looks good because we were kind of trying to figure some shit out, like on the edge of certain things, you know? I think there's a lot of positive things about this movie that still hold up. but there's a lot that doesn't, unfortunately.
Agreed. I think less works than does. But I mean, visually, it looks as good as something from this era can. So yeah, do with that what you will. But yeah, it could be worse.
I think the editing is really inspired in some places. Some of the transitions are really creative if you're paying attention.
We should mention heavily inspired by Hong Kong action films.
Absolutely. I remember the first trailer to this was just the part at the end where they're just running across the rooftops of the buildings. And everybody's minds just exploded when we saw that.
Which honestly,
holy shit, that looked good.
Is kind of exactly what minds are doing now with the new trailer. Like the people are looking at that animation style and going, "Wow, that looks really fucking incredible." Because you know what, it kind of does look really fucking incredible. Really does,
yeah, it literally looks like someone is drawing it as you're seeing it.
Yeah. Which
and almost like Dr. Cat's squiggle vision, but like evolved to the point of perfection.
Like an entire movie of Spider Punks, kind of, honestly.
Yeah, sorta, yeah.
Which is kind of cool. So I don't know. There you go. I don't know. There it is. We did 90 minutes on TMNT. That's great. That's good. I like that. So
good job.
Cut, print, send it to the printer. I know you got to head out here in a second. So we'll go ahead and land this plane. Hey, guys, this has been the Disenfranchised Podcast, and you should check us out wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a nice 5-star juicy rating and review, particularly if you're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you like us and you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe so we drop in your podcatcher every day. But if you write us a nice review, hey, we'll read it here on the podcast, and we'll thank you. You'll be our best good friend for a good long while. Because we do love and appreciate when people do that for us. No one's done it in a while, so get on that. Don't just leave the rating. Give us the review too. Is there something you would like to see us do that we haven't done yet? Shoot us an email, disenfranchpod@gmail.com. Let us know. Let us know what you think about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in general. If you email us, we could read your email on a future episode. You can find us on all of the social media. We are on Instagram, Letterboxd, Twitter for now, Threads, and YouTube at disenfranchpod. I'm your host, Stephen Foxworthy. You can find me on Instagram, Letterboxd, Twitter for now, Threads, and Blue Sky at Chewy Walrus. Tucker, where can we find you these days?
Just YouTube at Ice909, ICENINE, the number 0 and the number 9. Also, head on over to the Insta Scams and check out Tuck's Mugs at Tuck_Mugs. The team over at Tuck Mugs works really, really hard to create quality content, just pumping that out on a weekly basis at least. So go and check that out. Follow us there, and also if you want to submit a mug, just follow the format of the page, I guess, the Instagram page.
Tell us A, where you got the mug, B, when you got, give us the story of your mug and then what you've got in it, and then if you have Instagram, give us your handle there so we can tag you. And send that to disenfranchpod@gmail.com.
Too. Yeah, the picture is the most important part.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're just going to screenshot your email and put it up on the Instagram page.
We will draw a mug based on how you've described it.
Right. Absolutely. That is what we will do. But yeah, go ahead and send that to disenfranchpod@gmail.com. And our absent co-host Brett Wright, you can find him on Instagram and Letterboxd at sus_warlock if you want to see what he's up to, because he's not been around as much lately. But hey, we're really hoping to get him back for a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Oops All Video Game Corner episode. In the meantime, make sure you check us out on all those social media platforms. We're on Facebook as well. I don't know if I mentioned that we're on the Disenfranchised Pod is on Facebook as well. But yeah, that is all she wrote for TMNT. I'm your host, Stephen Foxworthy. For my co-host Tucker and the absent Brett Wright. Until next time, God, I love being a turtle.